Hello, my wonderful art students. Before we get started today, I wanted to remind you that we have a lot of different things on our website for you to check out. Ms. Gove and I have worked hard to give you a really easy way to continue your learning for music and art at home. I have a video on our homepage that you can watch that tells you all about it, so be sure to check it out. All right, so first grade, you're going to be drawing a picture of yourself, which is called a self-portrait today. Second grade, you can do a free draw, so anything that you want. Third grade, it asks you to draw a comic strip and then read it to someone and see if they laugh. Fourth grade, you're also drawing a comic strip, but I believe that someone is going to tell you the problem that should be going on, so that way they're kind of collaborating or working with you on what your comic strip should be about. And then fifth grade, you're also doing a comic strip, and you're going to read it to someone and see if they laugh, and if they do, you're going to ask them what part was funny. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by adding the date. It's April 1st, 2020. I like to write out what we're doing for each grade level at the top as well. Since 3 of my grade levels are working on comic strips today, I'm going to start by drawing the frame for those comic strips. How long yours is will determine how many rectangles you need to split into squares. So I start out by drawing long rectangles. Remember to draw light until it's right. I have to draw a little darker than I would like to for you guys, so that way you can see my lines really well. And I'm giving them an even split. Before we get too far into our comic strips, I'm going to go ahead and draw my very simple self-portrait for my first graders. And remember, guys, you can draw all of these with me, or you can pick and choose. Just make sure you're practicing your drawing. That's what's important. So first grade, as you're drawing, faces can be different shapes. In just a second, I'll give you some options up at the top. Miss Spillman has kind of an oval shaped face, which is why I did the letter U. And then for hair, it's the same thing. You know, we have straight, curly, wavy, short, long. There's just so many different hair types. You really just have to look at the types of lines you're seeing whenever you look at hair. Miss Spillman has short, straight hair at the moment. So that's what I'm drawing. I wear glasses, so I'm going to start by drawing my frames of my glasses, just so I can see where my eyes need to be. Once you've drawn the shape for your hair, it's good to go back in and add the type of lines that you would see in your hair. I have straight lines because I have straight hair. I'm going to draw my eyebrows with a simple arch. For your eyes, you'll start with a circle, and then you'll draw an arched line over the top and over the bottom. The arched lines need to kind of cut into your circle a little bit so your eyes don't look like they're popping. After you get that done, you can go in and draw your pupil with a very simple dark circle, and then you can color in your irises. If you have crayons, colored pencils at home, please feel free to use them. When you draw your nose, think about how wide and long it is. You can start out by drawing a C and a backward C for the wings over your nostrils, and then you can draw 2 lines down for the bridge of your nose and a very low letter U for the bottom. For your lips, start with the line. Make sure you curve it up a little bit so you don't look angry unless you want to look angry. And then I draw a stretched out M on top and a very spread out U on the bottom. And Miss Spillman sees a little bump on her chin, like a little bump on her chin at the bottom, so I put a bump on my chin. You can add eyelashes if you want to. Sometimes you don't see them if you're not super close to a person. Whenever you're drawing a person or anything for that matter, it's good to go in and fix things when you see you've made mistakes. That's one reason why drawing light is so important. So I noticed that my glasses were a little bit off in one place, so I fixed it. I also noticed my lips were crooked, so I went ahead and erased them and I tried again. So again, when you're drawing your lips, you want to start with that part line where your mouth would open. If you make it frown down, then you'll look sad. If you make it curve up at the end, you'll tend to look happy. And then a stretched out M for the top of your lips and a letter U that's really stretched out at the bottom. Then I'm drawing the little part under my nose and a neck. I'm going to draw a shirt by drawing an oval that doesn't connect, and then 2 lines out for my shoulders, and I'm going to stop with that. If you want to add more, you definitely can. Now, we were talking about the different types of faces and hair, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the different types of faces, and then I'll talk about the hair. So for face types, square faces, a lot of times guys will have square faces. Round faces can be anybody, kind of a U shape or an oval face. And then the last type, you kind of have a pointy chin, so it's like a U, but the chin comes more to a point at the bottom. For hair types, like I said, there's so many different types that you can use. The most basic ones are straight hair. And then you got curly hair. You could also do ringlets, which is more like you could overlap when you do your curl. You also have short spiky hair. You can always try to do a braid, but I decided that about halfway through the start of my braid that would need to be a whole video of how to draw one by itself, so I decided not to do that. But if you want to draw, ponytail, braids, then you can feel free to do that. I'll try to find a video and put it up on one of our playlists. If you want to add accessories, you could add bows, crowns, tiaras, little headbands with ears, whatever you want to at the top. If you want to put a hat on. Remember that a self-portrait is all about drawing you. Alright, we're going to go ahead and move into our comic strip. So the first thing you might want to do is storyboard. This is just laying out a little story. You ask basic questions. Who is the story about? What are they doing? When is it taking place? Where is it taking place? How is it happening? And then any extra details. So when you storyboard, those are kind of the things you want to hit. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, so for my character, I'm going to keep him really simple. I'm going to start with an arch and connect it with a smile so he looks kind of like a gumdrop. I'm going to give him some googly eyes. Then I'm going to give him kind of a monster mouth. Open wide, kind of goofy, but with sharp teeth. At the top of his head, I think that giving him some spikes will be fun. So we'll give him some spiky hair. Figuring out what you want to name your character can be difficult. We know that this story is supposed to make people laugh and be kind of funny, so I chose the name Dob. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out what I want my story to be about. So whenever I add these details in, if you just want to, use some similar ones, that's fine, or you can come up with your own. So it's going to be lunchtime, and it's going to take place in the kitchen. And what is he going to be doing? So I think maybe if he slips and falls somehow, that will be funny. He's going to be making a PB&J, and it's about Dob. And how it's going to happen is going to be funny, and he's going to be making a sandwich. So I'm not going to write all of that. Whenever I'm creating a comic, I like to split the space where my story is at the bottom and my images are at the top. I always encourage you to write your story first. That way you know what's going on in each box. So Dob is a blob that tells us what? Dob is hungry. And that tells us kind of the how and some of the details. And that it's lunchtime, which is when. Dob likes PB&J tells us what. And I'm telling that he likes a lot of jelly because that's a good extra detail because that's going to be how he slips and falls. So Dob drops a blob of jelly. Dob doesn't see the blob. Dob slides across the floor. Dob wears his blob. Dob tastes the blob. I realized I wanted to add one more frame. So I went ahead and drew it in. If you have extra space, you can do this. If you don't, you can always flip your paper over. I'm going to end it with Dob tastes like lunch. Now that I know what's going on in each box, it's really easy to draw the scene because I know what details are there and what's going on. When you create your character in place, it is important you draw what you want, but if you draw something really complex or that has a lot of detail, it can be hard to copy it over and over again, which is why I chose a very simple character and a place that doesn't have a lot of detail. As you're drawing, your point of view is very important. There are going to be times where you want to zoom in. There are going to be times when you zoom out. Maybe you'll see it from the side or the top, depending on what you're trying to show in each picture. That'll be how you draw it. Whenever you're drawing the face for your character, the facial expressions need to match the emotions that are going on. So whenever Dobbs slips, I gave him a face of surprise. And once he actually fell, I went ahead and gave him the X eyes with the tongue out and then put a little blob of jelly on his tongue to show that he tasted it and that he's, kind of scared and like, oh, what happened? But, oh, I taste some jelly. Then I end my story with making Dob messy, having jam all over himself. If you have markers, crayons, or colored pencils at home, definitely color this in. I'm just staying with regular pencil because I know that definitely all of you guys at least have a pencil at home since it went home in your AMI packet. I enjoyed drawing with you guys today. I miss you and I wish you well.